discuss with you today the coming of the new golden age. As you know, we've been living in a world for as long as anyone can remember that is very cyclic. But the important thing to do with these cycles now is take these cycles and turn them into spirals, turn them into something more highly evolved, because that is the age we're in. The 1960s were always known as the age of Aquarius, but rather, let me correct you, the dawn of the age of Aquarius. Now the Aquarian age is beginning. The Aquarian age has been, as we know, ruled by Uranus. Now that's a happy planet, it's lucky, but it also has its flip side, which is chaotic. And what's perhaps even more dramatic is the Aquarian age, until Uranus was discovered, was ruled by Saturn, and therefore it also has its pre-Capricornian age, which will come one day in someone else's lifetime. But it brings with it a certain melancholy or prudence or deeper understanding. We now have the capacity to tap into both of these things. So is this an intense sort of new age kind of a video? Yes, it is. And if it's turning you off right now, turn me off, because I'm going to continue. So one particular cycle that is unparalleled is the solar flares, what the sun is doing. This is currently let's face it, it's the star, it's the master of our particular solar system. And although there are billions of them in the sky, this is the one that matters to us. And this sun is behaving extraordinarily powerful. It's attempting to say something to those that are awake enough to hear it. So what's happening very recently, and this is just on the cusp of 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, and I know a lot of people look at it in the form of destruction, but it ultimately, some believe, I am one of those proponents, that believe it's the opening of a golden age, but it really seems to begin with this sense of almost turmoil. So the sun itself just recently had 3 major explosions. This has been going on all year. And every time it happens, there are earthquakes, tsunamis, there's breaking of ice in the North and Antarctica. It's astonishing to see this from NASA. But the important thing also to bear in mind is how sensitive we are as human beings and how each one of us are being affected by it. You see it in the wars and the fighting that's going on in England. You see it in the fighting with the non-named wars that are going on all over the world. And then, aside from the macrocosm, you see it in the microcosm with the relationships we're having with certain people in our lives that we've always luxuriated in, or who knows, tolerated all our lives, only to find that we're coming to a point of great cleansing where if everyone isn't growing with us or not evolving, it's almost as if we know now we don't have time for the lack of growth. Time is of the essence. So we're living in a time where these energy fields can bring up a lot of a dark essence from some people, but only from some. Again, the squeaky wheels, they'll get all the attention. So when they do something that's extraordinary or remarkably dark, that gets into the news and the media rapidly, even though there's an enormous percentage of people that are tapping into a white light. They're trying to do the right thing. They're joining forces collectively to bring in this energy field of white light. It will work. It will work. Collective energy and the good always does. But we're traveling, though, through this abyss of challenge and difficulty to all of us. And, you know, my body personally is giving up. I'm not an old man per se, but I'm old enough. And it's really taking its toll on me. I'm making these videos because I want this message to be able to go out while I still have the ability to be cognizant and to be able to say it without perhaps screaming in pain. It's important. I'm degenerating. So there's not a lot I can do about it. It's happening. So I take everything I'm saying right now very seriously. I want to be able to leave a legacy behind, and a legacy of promise. Not that I'm going anywhere, especially, we're all energy frequencies, we're all photons of beauty. We're not going anywhere per se, we're eternal. But I'm not going to be on YouTube in some photon eternal thing until maybe the age of Capricorn. So that's what my point is. This is serious stuff we're talking about. The evolution of the mind. Since the beginning of time, we have existed with our 5 senses. Let me just refer to my notes, like I don't know what those senses are because I tap into them in the sensual world. Touch in the physical realm. It's important, but what is its soul essence? It's the power to be psychometric, to touch something and to pick up an energy field from it. That's the metaphysical aspect of touch. Second essence, physical sense, taste. But what do we do with it in the spiritual realm? It's the power to absorb the finer essences of this amazing frequency or wave that's floating through the universe, or may I call it the omniverse. Something quite unique and powerful if you're able to and more adept at tapping into it. Many of my friends are. You should be too. Another simple and very important sense, the sense of sight, to see. But what does that turn into in a spiritual realm? It turns into the power almost to, let's say, have a state of clairvoyance. I've based my career on being able to see beyond the veil, so I know you can do it. Next sense, something I love. You wouldn't know it from the video, but so many people have reported recently anything they've ever been given from me. It's all very scented. I love fragrance a lot. Very turned on by natural fragrances. Smell, a powerful physical sense. However, in the metaphysical world, it's really the power to distinguish the spiritual aromas of nature, and that's pretty potent stuff. Especially when you're talking about right now in the Northern Hemisphere, all of these amazing flowers and harvests that are coming in right now. But it's a great power. It's a gift. The fifth sense that's of the mundane world, and I hate to speak of it as such because it's not mundane, hearing. But really what that ultimately turns into is, who into the notes, a clairaudience, an ability to hear things that are happening in other realms, in other rooms, simply in the lives of those you loved. The voices, perhaps, I hate to sound bizarre like Joan of Arc, inside your own head. Okay, so those are your senses that you can transmute now, and you have to, into the metaphysical realm that we're moving into, the Golden Age. But let's talk about the two innate new senses. Intuition, the sixth sense, the ability to inspire yourself with the realms beyond. That's the gift we're being given in the new Golden Age. That is what has allowed me to understand my past lives. It's what allows me to paint the way I do. I've always relied on my intuition. I always will. And that has even caused me to be so tenacious and want to expedite these videos to you because I'm picking up a lot of things that I will reportage in different video. So, the sixth sense. And what's the seventh, after all? It's a very powerful number, as we discussed in Kabbalah, Nisak, or as we've discussed in chakra energy fields. The seventh is a video we've done recently. Look it up on YouTube, my YouTube channel. Thought transference. As an actual ability in the real mundane world to tap into. And by doing so, you then have the power to converse with spiritual intelligence at will. And these spiritual intelligence can be divine, they could be ascended masters, they could be saints, they could be spirits of the beloved that in theory have left you, but in an alternate reality are there for you to love. They are there to guide you. Let's flip the switch. The switch, as they say. Anyway, okay, I want to get back to those solar flares though. Alright, it's one thing to have these solar flares. That's awful enough. And after every one of these solar flares this year, there's been some astronomically unbelievable Earth changes. And we've just had some of the most powerful solar flares to date. Science doesn't, I guess science is a bit baffled by it. They're not even sure what to expect, other than when the earthquake in the Pacific Rim hit, a tsunami hit Japan in March. We did a video on it, by the way, advancing to 2012, look it up. NASA had seen from space, interesting they're mentioning this though now, that they actually have on film an enormous ice chunk that broke off of Antarctica near New Zealand in a field of ice that's 230 miles down into the water. That broke off and it's on film, and it's as big as Manhattan, ironically 23 square miles. We'll discuss that in the numerology video I want to get to, 23. But it's floating around in the area. I wanted to go to Australia this year. Now I'm wondering, do I want to be there when I become part of the giant Manhattan that the Earth will be drinking down there at some point? But the point though is, when these particular 3 solar flares exploded recently, they put a dent in the magnetic field that surrounds the Earth. That's bizarre. So when you're messing now with the magnetic field, you're messing with all the Earth, all that flows, all of nature, of which we are intricately woven into. And then that develops and moves or wends its way into the pineal gland in our brains, a gland that is filled with water and has crystals suspended in it that is affected by these vibrational fields. So yes, some people will make a movie about the devastation of 2012 and everyone will get scared. Other people, such as myself, might actually look at it from a different perspective of, can it not be an opportunity for us to, instead of shoot somebody, hurt somebody, think poorly about somebody, gossip, or burn down a building, or pick up an ammunition or a gun or a weapon, could we not think in terms of our higher consciousness, love, be free of ego, think in terms of healing each other, bringing us up to a much higher frequency? The time is now, and I know we can do this. And I'm here to help you guys awaken to your innate gifts to do this. Because if you do this for my world and I do this for your world, then we leave it for the ones who we are the custodians of this world for. The younger generations that can then commandeer this this ability that we all have, these extra senses that we're taking on. They could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 new senses if we want them to be, where we can continue to evolve, and happily so. It's a lot of things to think about. So, be upbeat and be hopeful. This is a beautiful world, and it's evolving into something quite lovely. And when we are beyond the veil of turmoil and the fear that are problematic, we could move into a new renaissance of thinking. As a child, I've been there myself. I've always been a spokesman, if you will, for that golden age. And that's what I want to always be able to leave behind in my artwork, in my readings, and in anything I say or do. Let us now turn to, as an art form, a metaphysical art form, the cards, for lack of better description, the divination vibrational fields that could help us better understand what perhaps even I myself cannot quite transfer completely just in verbiage. Let's consult it again. Cards. Okay. All right. So sometimes you have to leave it up to what you see, your intuition. You have to leave it up to your clairvoyance. You have to leave it up to metaphysics. You have to tap into a bit of the unknown and have the courage to do so, and to believe that there is such a thing. To have faith, to be able to place your faith in something, even if sometimes you're not so sure entirely of, you're not God. None of us are. We don't know. We hope to know. I'd like to think in many levels, though, I know a little something. But the vibrational fields, though, that are much more omnipotent than I, say this today, in the Grand Triangle. Number 1. The key to life. It's an Egyptian symbol of the Ankh. It precedes the crucifix. Sometimes when people see it around one's neck, they might think, well, there's a Christian or there's a Christian symbol. It's not. It's an Egyptian or even older symbol. It's a key that unlocks. It is the symbol, Egyptian hieroglyph for life. I purposely put it in my divination deck as a number, by the way, 88, interestingly enough. 8's being such a powerful number. 1 for war, maybe 1 for power in a different way. What high priests would wear on their breastplates to represent a different kind of war. The good fight. When I've seen people get this vibe in the read, it represents longevity. In one of my videos, my YouTube videos, When I asked if I was going to survive one of my surgeries, I was about to cry. But when I pulled this card, I knew it was going to be okay. And when I speak of things right now, or even I have to be, I need advice from the universe as to whether things are going to be okay or not. This vibration assures me that it's going to be fine. The Ankh, all of this is eternal. As we said before, it's cyclic. Let's just turn the cycle into a spiral and go ever upwards. Number 2 says this. One season, spring. Now, although the tarot cards themselves generally would allude to this season, I'd rather have painted it specifically, so there's no mistaking it with my clients. It's not because I say it's spring or because the Ace of Wands rules spring. It's because it says spring. Now, the vibrational fields clearly say that for a reason. Because once we enter spring, the equinox, we enter the year of the dragon, we enter 2012. And then we navigate the landscape into the realm of the unknown. It's up to us to take it to a good place. So, it's coming. That's why I want to do this video, because it's imminent. And the third vibrational field, my God, they're electric. Third vibrational field says this. Serious, Danny, think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Okay. The vibrational field just happens to be ruled by Saturn in Libra. The life lesson for all of us. As I've said in previous reads, Sagittarius might mean, I see, and Aquarius might mean, I know. But Libra is the only sign that says, we are. And we are all in this together. And the mantra of this particular vibe, which happens to be a Victorian building I admire in Manhattan, so I painted it into one of my divination cards. But the mantra of it is, these 3 points, is every problem contains a solution. And that's good news. So, think positively, open up to the white light, be one of the light workers, and don't let the naysayers and the negativity of the vibrational fields of certain people bring you down. It's your challenge to remain higher than that. It's the gift you give all of those that follow you in this realm of time to be above board, to do the right thing, to be responsible by Mother Earth, to be responsible to the universe, and then ultimately, of course, you're being responsible to yourself.